Bandits invade Kaduna, abduct dozens of female students from the Federal College of Forestry in Mando, Igabi. PPPRA makes U-turn, reverses announcement of petrol price hike as NNPC insists no increase in ex-depot price of petrol. In international news, U.S. President Joe Biden signs into law a hefty nearly $2 trillion COVID relief bill, assuring American citizens and businesses of financial help during the pandemic. And in sport, Dele Ajayi wins Ondo FA election.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. It happened again. Female students were herded out of their schools into a doctor's net, unchallenged by security agents. An unspecified number of female students of the Federal College of Forestry, Kaduna, were kidnapped by gunmen in the early hours of Friday. Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arua, confirmed the incident. The confirmation was also corroborated by the Kaduna State Police Command's Public Relations Officer, Mohammed Jalige. Both men say investigation has started to unravel where the girls were kept. Reports say some of the girls have been released and 30 others still missing. Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has announced that there will be no increase in the price of petrol in the country this month. Panic buying and long petrol queues have begun to manifest in many cities because of reports of rumored hike in the price of petrol. The Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency has also reversed an earlier announcement that the new price of petrol had been raised to 212.5 naira per litre. The ex-depot price is the price marketers pay for the product at the NNPC depots. Nigeria has reported 287 new cases of coronavirus in 18 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The country now has 156,000 coronavirus infections. 7 new deaths were also recorded as a result of COVID-19 complications. 2,100 patients are also said to have recovered and have been discharged in Lagos State and the Federal Capital Territory. Across the nation, 142,000 patients have been successfully treated and released from various isolation centers. Lagos recorded the largest share of the new figures with 107. Kwara, Akwa Ibom, Bauchi, Ogun State, Rivers, Kaduna, FCT all confirmed cases in double digits, while 10 other states recorded infections in single numbers. The country's foreign reserves have experienced severe pressure over the past few months in the face of dwindling oil earnings and reduced capital inflows. Correspondent Kelechi Mekalam reports on how Nigeria's external reserves lost nearly $1 billion in 23 days.
Nigeria's foreign reserves stood at $36.19 billion at the beginning of February, then fell to $35.09 billion by the end of the month, a record $1.1 billion according to data from the central bank, its lowest level in over 2 months. Experts blame the plunge on Nigeria's high drive for imports.
This is not unexpected. The new drop is not unexpected. It's been oscillating over the years, Sometimes it will go up, sometimes it will come down. But it's essentially a function of our trade activity.
Because our industrial base, our consumption pattern, and everything that has to do with economic activities in Nigeria seem to be almost exclusively driven by our foreign exchange earnings. We have to import so many things. What it then means is that each time you have a hit on your foreign exchange reserves, we begin to look at ways to reduce our consumption when, as a matter of fact, what we ought to do is to take a long-term perspective to try and reduce our reliance on those consumption patterns. So it will always be significant, and it will always impact almost every aspect of our economic activities.
The central bank says the plunge in its foreign reserve is nothing to worry about, as what's left is enough to serve the nation for the next 7 months. Nigeria is Africa's biggest crude oil producer. About 90% of its export earnings come from crude oil. But the nation still imports refined petroleum products, as local refineries are worn and dated. Experts advise government to adopt a more proactive approach to boost the foreign reserve.
It is an invitation for us to be cautious really, about what we are going to be purchasing in terms of our overall, trade policy. What are the things that government should prioritize? How much effort should we put into looking inwards? What is our policy towards patronizing local content? If we continue to focus on our foreign items, we know it's going to put more pressure on the naira, and when there's pressure on the naira, it will lose its value.
If you can lose $1 billion over such a short period, and against the current scenario, by current scenario, I'm talking of the various factors in the economy, in the society, including the all-important security issues. You can lose billions just like that. And therefore, yes, 7 months seems to be double what the international criteria is. But it might not just be enough. And so, on that basis, I think there's cause for worry.
The central bank assures that it will continue efforts to boost and conserve the foreign reserve. Some measures include the reward policy that encourages formal diaspora remittances, targeting intervention schemes to support local production and growth of non-oil exports.
Coming up, African stories. Ghana President Nana Akufo-Addo assures Ghanaians of his commitment to fixing the country's economic challenges. And later, international news. U.S. President Joe Biden signs into law the hefty nearly $2 trillion COVID relief bill, assuring American citizens and businesses of financial help during the pandemic.
You are watching a
keynote address. President Cyril Ramaphosa urged South Africans to buy local, emphasizing that buying local is about investing in quality, sustaining local businesses, and keeping jobs at home.
Wear local, travel local, eat local, watch local content, read local authors. And this is so important that even when you go to a bookstore, go to that section that is Africa, South African. Support local music. Yes, listen to the brilliant stars that we've got in our country. So Proudly South African must move beyond just being a campaign. We want it to be a reality. It must become a mass movement that all South Africans are keen to embrace and to actively support.
Ramaphosa announced that the government plans to increase local procurement over the next 5 years, vowing to clamp down on illegal importation of goods in South Africa.
Apart from its own procurement commitments, government is working to lower the barriers to entry to make it a lot easier to establish and to grow a business in our country. We're also working to support existing manufacturers.
The president added that some industries are already on board. For instance, in the sugar sector, the government has already secured the commitment of local manufacturers of soft drinks to procure 80% of their sugar needs from local growers, including small-scale farmers. Other sectors have made similar commitments.
Automotive Master Plan, for example, aims to double the amount of job opportunities by increasing the level of local content in vehicles assembled in this country from 39% to 60%. That is a whooping increase. And the commitment to achieve that 60% is there, and I've seen it and I've heard it, and I want to touch it more and more. The Poultry Master Plan has contributed to the production of more than 1 million additional chickens every week that make their way onto the shelves in our retail stores.
Held virtually as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. The expo features more than 100 companies showcasing their products and services in a short video with an online meeting hub where buyers and sellers can connect.
Ghana's economy has weathered some turbulent storms since COVID-19 pandemic hit the nation last year. But that is not an isolated case. President Nana Akufo-Addo says he's aware of the economic issues the country faces and is doing something to turn it around. Correspondent Nabil Ahmed Rafai reports.
Hospitals will be designated.
President Akufo-Addo's State of the Nation address comes after Ghana's Supreme Court unanimously quashed a petition challenging his legitimacy. The court declared that the petition filed by opposition candidate John Mahama lacked merit. The president says his focus now is to revive the economy after a downturn caused by COVID-19.
Our overall economic growth rate for 2020 was reviewed downwards from 6.8% to 0.9%. This was done to reflect the impact of the pandemic. The fiscal responsibility rule of keeping a deficit within the threshold of 5% of GDP and a positive primary balance for every year was suspended in 2020 to enable fiscal operations to accommodate the impact of the pandemic.
Ghana has begun its COVID-19 vaccine rollout and wants to inoculate 20 million people by the end of the year. The president hopes to create more jobs to support the country's economic recovery.
Government expects economic activity, which has already picked up, to do so even further following the ongoing vaccination exercise and the easing of restrictions put in place to curb the effects of the disease. We expect GDP growth to rebound strongly this year to nearly 5%, above the IMF's 2021 January projection of 3.2% growth for Sub-Saharan Africa for 2021.
President Akufo-Addo's State of the Nation address has received mixed reactions from legislators.
I was particularly happy about the railway program and then the Buankra Inland Port, which of course many young people in Ashanti region are looking up to find jobs.
He's creating the impression that everything is all right. But even the developed countries are telling their people times are hard, we have to do things differently.
The president also outlined key infrastructure developments he plans to undertake by the end of his mandate in 2024. It includes the expansion of roads across the country and improving access to healthcare delivery.
President Akufo-Addo could struggle to get legislation passed during his second term in office due to Ghana's hung parliament. He will have to try and get support from the opposition party to make progress on key campaign pledges.